Morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Brr. Whoa. Brr. Is it going to warm up? Are we going to have a warm up? I certainly hope so. Hope you guys slept well. You guys are excited and ready for a good day today. You know I am. I got on late last night and started talking about some different things that are going on in the county. And we know all the crimes that Pulling Cars has committed. Like, we know how much fraud and theft Pulling Cars has committed. We know how much crime and theft that John Flynn has committed. We know how much crime and theft that our government officials at local levels, county levels, within government agencies, what they have done. What we have to do now. You know, people go, well, Pete, why they've committed these crimes? You know, what are the crimes? Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning, Tracy. You know, we go, what are the crimes? Well, here are the crimes. Crimes are this. When you use your power or agency or position against anyone else, that is a crime. In any way. If you use it because of political ideologies or political affiliation, that is discrimination. That is a crime. When you use your position or authority to benefit yourself directly or someone you know, that is a crime. When you use your position and authority to obtain money, funds, or favors, that is a crime. How do I know this? Well, I worked for a radio station. And in that radio station, what happened was there was an all-out attack on radio stations for a long, long time. They had to be accountable for every single dollar that they had. And whatever they got as donations or trade in from any business had to be accounted for. Each and every dollar had to be accounted for. And if it wasn't, that elevated and ascended to the level of a crime. And there would be, people would have to answer for that. You know, it would either be a fine, or if it elevated to a level of, you know, being a crime that, you know, the investigative agencies felt like it was a crime, they could do that. How else do I know that these are crimes? They're crimes that are on the books, or they're laws that are on the books. They're statutes that are on the books. Well, Pete, why doesn't anybody get arrested for those things? This is why. It's not that all law enforcement is bad, because they're not. It's not that all government agencies are bad. It's not that all government agents are bad. It's not that all town officials, town government officials, DAs, judges, it's not that they're all bad. In fact, I think a lot of them are still good. However, what ends up happening is you have somebody like a Pulling Cars that takes office that feels like it is his endowment. He feels like the money that you make, that he charges you in the form of property taxes and sales taxes and every other tax that is levied, that goes to the county from you and me and everybody else, he feels like that is his person. Hey, Alicia, what's up, sweetheart? Carrie, what's going on? Good to see you guys. They feel like they are entitled to that. They feel like it's their endowment. They feel like it's theirs to use and do with whatever they want, whenever they want. And that once you feel that way, you're like, well, who's gonna touch me? You know, then you get a DA like John Flynn in office who doesn't care about the law. John Flynn does not, make no mistake about it, John Flynn is a terrorist. John Flynn is a tyrant. John Flynn is a dictator. John Flynn is a communist. All straight out. How many crimes have we seen committed by public officials, government agencies, government agents, law enforcement, all the theft, all the election fraud that takes place? You know who's responsible for going after that? And the DA John Flynn will say, no, it's not my responsibility to investigate. It's my investigative authorities, i.e. the Sheriff's Department, that goes out there. And, you know, if it's the Liquor Authority or the Department of Health, those agencies that are tasked with going out investigating. Okay. So then why, John Flynn, would you take a woman like Joanna and insist that she be arrested? Why would you take an individual like a Michael Kremen and insist that he get arrested by the people that you say you don't have any power over? So what's happened is they have completely co-opted and infiltrated, co-opted, and corrupted the people's positions. They have taken John Flynn and polling cars, and to an extent, Tim Howard. Like, I've heard great things about Tim Howard. A lot of great people have said amazing things. I don't know Tim Howard. You need to know that. I don't want to speak out of turn. But Tim Howard is caught in a very, good morning, Dale. What's up? Good morning, Cy. Good morning, Roger. Tim Howard is caught in a very difficult situation. Even if Tim Howard is an incredible guy and on our side, and with all the people that I talk to, I'm going to believe that. I'm going to believe that Tim is a great guy, a great man. I'm going to believe that, you know, what he wants to try to do is in stark contrast. And what he wants to try to do, what he knows is right, what he believes is right, is in stark contrast to what is actually being done or what he's allowed to do. He should never be allowed to do anything. Good morning, Amber. Good morning, Tricia. He should never be allowed to do anything. He is the supreme, the sheriff's office, they are the supreme authority in the county. Regardless of what Polin Carr says, regardless of what Flynn says, you know, Tim Howard is in our Erie County Sheriff's Department. They are all the supreme power in the county. And Tim Howard, I got to believe, if he's the man that everybody tells me that he is, I got to believe it drives him crazy every single day. Watching people like polling cars in every one of the positions that are the people's positions. ECMC, that is ours. All of those parking lots and the stadium over at Bill Stadium, those are ours. Every government position in the county, every government position in the towns, those are ours. Every tax dollar is ours. These people were voted on to serve us and then appoint or hire people within these government agencies to serve us, the people. And Tim Howard has to look at it and go, oh my God, every day, how did it get to this point? You know, and Tim Howard probably feels like he doesn't have the backing of the people. And why would Tim feel like he doesn't have the backing of the people? Carl, what's up, brother? Tim would probably feel like he doesn't have the backing of the people because we've never organized behind anybody ever in the history of ever, other than Carl Palladino when he was running for governor, and other than Giambra that I have seen. When Giambra came out and said right after, who was it? Was it Gorski? I don't think it was Gorski. I think it was somebody else, but it may have been. But right after, you know, when Giambra was coming in, he said, I'm cutting everybody's property taxes by a third, and he did it. And right before the county executive, right before Gorski came into office, he had cut our taxes even more. Whatever the reasons, good morning, Mark, good morning, Kathy, whatever the reasons were that he was able to accomplish that before he left office, he thought he was going to stick it to Giambra and then try to make it an unfulfilled campaign promise. Giambra said, well, no, you didn't take enough, and he ended up taking 30%. Now, whether you like Giambra or not, again, I don't know the man. I have no idea who the guy is. But I know he cut my taxes by a third. I don't know a lot about the other decisions that he made. But Other than that, we haven't stood behind a candidate in this town. Mayor Jimmy Griffin, way back then, possibly somebody that we stood behind and we supported, possibly. The Democrats don't even stand behind a candidate, no individual candidate. Like, which town candidate and supervisor or mayor do you hear like, oh my God, they're doing an incredible job? So which one of these people do that? I can't think of one off the top of my head. Cheektowaga, Niagara Falls, Lackawanna. All I ever hear is how bad they're doing. You know what I mean? That is all I ever hear from everybody, is how bad they are for everybody. Over and over and over again. Generationally. Over and over and over again. So Tim Howard is probably like, man, I'll do what I can do, but I don't know how much I can do, because I don't want to lose my position, because if I lose my position, then at least what I can do, I'm not going to be able to do anymore, and we run the risk of some other terrorist, leftist, getting into that position. Ronnie, what's up, brother? So, but we're going to change that, Carl. Guarantee you, we're changing that. We are going to take over every single political office. It is my life's work and endeavor to make that happen. And how and why am I committed to that? Because of all of you. Because of all of us. I know that it needs direction. I know that it needs guidance. I know it needs a little bit of fostering and encouragement, a little bit of fertilizer, a little bit of water, who talk to it. I know that it needs that. But I also know that we're going to achieve it. Without a doubt, I know that we're going to achieve it. Well, Pete, how do you know that we're going to achieve it? Because I see the movement going right now. The number of people, Stephanie, good morning. Hey, what's up, hon? Great to see you. The movement that we are building and creating is a product and a result of President Trump. All right, good morning, Nikki. What's up, sweetheart? And then it is a product of just the utter corruption and criminality of the people that are occupying the offices. The in-your-face, we don't care. We're going to say what we're going to say to you, and we're going to do what we're going to do over here. And we don't care. What are you going to do to us? And we go, how is this possible? And how it's possible is that the sheriff, Tim Howard, can't arrest anybody in these positions because these people that they feel are so protected, they're really not that protected. People hate them. People can't stand them. But there is this illusion and impression that, and this misguided view and interpretation of what they've got going on, because they have somebody, and guys, let me make no mistake, local news does not support these people. They don't. I've spoken to the individuals who operate local news, and we may not like a lot of the reports and the stories, and we feel that they contribute to it, and some of them within it do, some of them within the Buffalo News do. But the overwhelming, just like people in government, just like people in law enforcement, just like good morning, Dan, the overwhelming majority of people within these agencies don't agree with it, and they just toe the line, like a Tim Howard, is because they don't want to deal with the repercussions of, good morning, Jackie. No, you can't believe the local news. Totally agree with you. But there are good people within the local news, and that much I can say. And if we work in a coordinated effort, we can start to turn this thing around. So there's this illusion and impression. So Tim thinks that he can't do the right things. He can't enforce the laws that are on the books. So somebody like John Flynn will attack somebody else. Mark Poloncarz, sorry, Carl. Sorry, whoa, my bad. But Mark Poloncarz, maybe it was just like Carl, I want him in that executive position. That would be fun. So Mark, they attack people like us. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Nicole. They attack people like us. They'll send the dogs after somebody that, of all economic status, socioeconomic statuses, except where? Who don't you ever see that gets arrested? We don't ever, politicians. When's the last time you've seen a politician, a judge, an attorney, a government agent arrested? It doesn't happen. Why? They're committing crimes. They're stealing money. I've given examples of how they're doing that, and I'm going to give more examples here, very recent examples of what they've done, committed crimes against us, and stolen from us, and used their positions against us. Theo, what's up, brother? Great to see you. So, if Tim Howard feels like he's got the support of us, just like Stefan. Stefan has always kind of been, the rogue, and he's trying to do what he can do with his position to do the right things, right? He tries to do the right things. And I applaud Stefan in everything that he is doing, everything he's accomplishing. But there's only so much you can do, right? Tim Howard can do, he has the power to do all this stuff, but he's worried that that position is going to be lost. And who is going to get that position? He feels like, is that going to be a John Flynn that gets the position? Oh my God. He goes, then there's nothing holding these people back. Who is going to hold these people back? Who's going to hold pulling cars back? Hitler. Let's not even call him Hitler. He is Hitler. Hey, Mark, let's sit down. Let's take a look at what Hitler has done. Let's take a look at what Stalin, the Communist Party in China, is doing currently. Let's take a look at what all these people have done and are doing, and let's compare that to you, Mark. Your job, Mark, is only to oversee the government agencies in this county. That is it. You move this around, Chad, what's up? You move this around, that's your job. Your job is not to weaponize the government agencies, the people's agencies that we own, all of them, that we pay against the people. Your job is not to weaponize people against people. It's not to use your position to try to attack individuals. That's not your job. You work for the people. I know you don't believe that, Mark, but you work for the people. That's who you work for. Good morning, Kelly. What's up, hon? I hope you had a great week. Hope you're going to have a great weekend. But Mark and John Flynn, they don't think that they work for us. Clearly. There was a grant that was given out. $20 million. We all heard it advertised everywhere on the radio. $19.2 million of that grant was given out. Beverly, good morning. Ann, what's up? $19.2 million as confirmed by the Erie County offices that were contacted by an individual. I will not tell you who it is. It's all documented. $19.2 million of that $20 million grant that was given out to the people in the county. $800,000 of that grant money. I don't know, is there any business, is there anybody watching right now that could use $10,000, $20,000? Anybody? I'll take it. $800,000 in administration fees. Who was giving out the money, Mark? But wait, wasn't it the county that was giving out the money? Don't we pay? Don't each one of those people make money already? Don't we pay those people money already? Where did that $800,000 go? Who was it paying? Why were there administration fees? Which administration fees were there? And then they would not admit to where that money went to. They said it was administration. So our guess is that it went into the general fund, and then that will be distributed and redistributed and dispersed out to who else? Who do you think? Burstein has made, what now, $200,000 in overtime? She is a salaried employee. I don't know, do any salaried employees out there that make overtime? I don't know any. You work your asses off 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. And what does your boss say? Well, you're on salary, right? And I think they changed the laws a little bit that, businesses can't do that to people. But what is Gail Bernstein doing exactly? Like, do you think that she's going out and reevaluating and reassessing how elderly care facilities can be better handled so that people aren't dying and that their loved ones can come in and see them? Nope, not happening. Has she gone into schools to try to figure out how many contaminants are in there, or other schools around the country? Nope, not happening. Just closed, sits there and just closed. She's not doing it. What justifies it? And Poloncarz, with a raise that he gave himself. Not only a raise, but what other money is Mark Poloncarz getting? Those are crimes. That is theft. Make no mistake, if you go to the store right now and you take $1,000 worth of stuff, you are going to be charged with a crime. But they get to steal millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars from us. And they make it seem, it's no big deal. It is a big deal. The only reason that it's not a big deal is because you're trying to say it's not a big deal. And we don't have local media telling those stories in a compelling and relevant enough way. In a way that is incessant and obsessive. Burying these people. Media and the press would be, from even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, would be ashamed of what the press is today. The press goes after groups like we have. They go after the Watchmen, right? They go after Robbie De Niro. They go after Constitutional Coalition. They go after our groups, our people, and they attack us. They use their platform to attack us and make us seem bad. Scott, good morning. Scotty, I love that name. I'm like, wait, who's Scott America? I love that name. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, you Scott and John and Mike and Joe and Mike Bray and Frank Coleman, all you guys know I got man crushes on you too. I know I mentioned a few man crushes last night, but I hope you all know I got man crushes on you too. So, and Chad, I've always had a huge man crush on you. John too. Good morning, John. Good morning, Melissa. But media would be ashamed of how they are. They'd be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You mean you've got this guy over here, he has businesses shut down, small businesses, certain small businesses. He has certain small businesses shut down. He has schools shut down. He has hospitals shut down, elective surgeries shut down, shutting down business after business after business. Elderly care facilities shut down, people dying, and he's paying out overtime, hand over fist, and hiring his nephew in a hiring freeze, and benefiting personally from his position. And John Flynn, the same thing. Good morning, Diana. Good morning, Kim. Ma. Kim is Ma. She's not Ma. She's like 3 years older than me, but she loves it when I call her Ma. So, hey, Mom. But, I mean, these are crimes that the press would have eaten up, any one of them. But what has happened now? We feel like one case of fraud, we have to justify it. We got to come up with 25 things. And the left knows this, not the liberals and the Democrats. I'm saying the leftists, the communists, the tyrants, the fascists, the Nazis, the dictators, that they want to transform this country into whatever. They don't even know what they want to transform this country into. They really don't. They just know they want to transform it and have everything for themselves. It wouldn't have stood like one thing. Hiring his nephew would have been one thing. But what do these people do? He comes out with these cute quips, right? Oh, well, we have 10 minutes. We have 10 minutes to, not wear the mask. And oh, I had my mask on right before we took the picture with my buddies. And he says, well, I'm different. And, it's different at this restaurant, but it's over here. Whatever, Mark. It used to be the press would eat that up. They would eat it up. Nikki, what's up, hon? And no longer that's the case. And that's where it's got to start, because the people need to know what is happening. That's why you have a free press and a government by the people, for the people. This is no longer for the people and by the people. And again, it's not... I know people want to blow up elderly care. I know people want to blow up political offices, right? And it may come down to that. It may need to happen. But in my opinion, we don't need to do that. In my opinion, it's still salvageable. And why? Because most of these government agencies are good. They're occupied by good people who are surrounded by a handful of bad people. It's like I said, in your office, there's always that 2 or 3 pain in the asses that are there, right? In your family, there's always those 2 or 3 pain in the asses that are out there, and they're just starting stuff, right? All the time. And you're just like, ugh, stop. And you don't want to deal with it. So you're like, man, I just want to eat. I just want to drink. That's all I want to do. And you're just like, so you're like, yeah, whatever. And then that gives them that win, right? That gives them that little win. It enables them to be even more maniacal the next time. So everybody else is like, they operate the same way, but I guarantee you, one person steps up to that person and they shut that person down, and everybody at the table and everybody in the office is going to be like, yeah, carry you around on the shoulders, forever. You're going to have a plaque on the wall because they hate that person too. They hate them. So in local government, it's the same thing. Tim Howard, I can't imagine Tim Howard. I gotta believe that guy with just visceral hatred hates John Flynn, hates him. Watching what he does, watching looters and rioters and terrorist organizations occupy and terrorize our towns, attack people, pull them out of vehicles, run over police officers. Good morning, Doug. Good morning, Kathy. I think I said good morning already. Sorry, hon. Run over police officers. And that's okay. But you want me to go after this business owner who you've had shut down for months and months and months? I got to go after that guy. That guy who has never committed a crime in his life. I got to go after him. And oh, by the way, you want me to go after his mother or his wife and his kid? You want me? What? Are you serious right now? Good morning, Linda. And that's where Poloncarz and Burstein and John Flynn are. And you get Poloncarz out of office, and we will. Mark Poloncarz won't ever work in this town again. That is a stone cold lock. And we will change the election process. So the fraud with the absentee ballots that they've been utilizing forever and ever and ever, and the Dominion software that they have that I haven't seen any indication that they have manipulated as of yet. Joe, what's up, brother? Any manipulation as of yet. But we all have seen how Dominion software can be easily manipulated. The results and the tallies that I've seen from elections at this point are, for our candidates, sometimes 2-1, 3-1, day of. Leading up to 3-1, 4-1 with early voting and with absentee ballots. Gee, how does that happen? So make no mistake, fixing election fraud is that simple. You go back to paper ballots. We have tens of thousands of people that vote in these elections, these local elections, if you even have that many. Dominion software gone forever, made unconstitutional, completely and utterly unconstitutional. You will never ever operate in this state, in this county, in this town, in this school election ever again. People are going, ballots cost money. So you don't think the Dominion software costs money? Well, it takes time to count the ballots. Okay, so count them. You have paper ballots. That's it. And we need to insist on this before this ever happens again. If a Board of Elections official or head of the Board of Elections official commits any level of fraud whatsoever, Class A felony treason. End of story. Any member of the Board of Elections or any political party that engages in, guys, these are laws. Most of this stuff is already law on the book. Anybody that engages in it at all, Class A felony treason, you're going to be put in jail. You will see it terminated and ended that quickly. And ask yourself why they don't want that. Ask them why they want to have inspectors that go out into the town and inspect your property. Ask why they're not trained. They're not. If you are a town inspector or a city inspector, you need no training, zero training. But if you want to be a home inspector for individual residences, you have to go through all this training, pay all this money, all the time. But for a town or city inspector, you don't. Any building inspector, you don't. Why do you think they hold on to those positions? Don't you think that the insurance companies would do a much better job? And then it's the open market. So if your insurance company is doing a bad job, you go get another insurance company. And you've heard me talk about this. They hold on to these things because they know it gives them control and power. Paper ballots, and on each ballot you have a member of Democratic Party, Republican Party, several members actually. You have a couple or three, all monitoring the counting. All of them monitoring each ballot, each and every ballot, visually tabulated, with a ballot that is very easy to figure out. How is it that difficult to create a ballot that you can't figure out what's put on it? Seriously. Well, Pete, what about the elderly? Pete, what about the absentees? Pete, what about the military people? Do you know what percentage are comprised? Because that in the handicapped. So this is what the right, this is what the leftists are saying now, the people who are there to preserve. And make no mistake about it, Dominion is out there astroturfing their asses off right now. And Dominion has out there their whole PR and marketing campaign. They have billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. They want to preserve what they have. They have control, power, and influence. Gone. Bye-bye. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to take that small percentage of people that actually absentee ballot as opposed to the general election in the day of, which I don't know what those stats are, but let's say it's 5%. And I think this year early voting, obviously early voting was way higher because of all the mail-in ballots and the illegal voting and not needing this, and then like Lancaster and other townships sending out all the ballots to every single address for anybody that's been in that house for the last 20 years. So you don't think there's any fraud there though? So typically if you're a liberal or if you're a moderate, an independent, a conservative, Republican, a libertarian, you're not going to engage. You want to do what the right thing is. If you are a moderate liberal or a moderate Democrat, you want to engage in what the right things are. But if you ascend a far leftist radical liberal or Democrat, you don't care. you're win at all costs. You don't want to play fair. So guess what? All the people that got all those mailed ballots out to them, Lancaster and Cheektowaga, 3-1, 2-1 absentee ballots in our county for this election cycle. And then compound that across the state and across the country, and we saw what we saw. Paper ballots only. You make a plan that is real and relevant and actionable and executable for the elderly and the handicapped and the absentees, the people in the military that can't come in and vote physically. You make a plan. What is that plan, Pete? Well, you're not supposed to be able to identify who votes, right? The ballots are supposed to be anonymous, right? And they're supposed to be attached to an individual name. I get that. I totally get that. And then also ID. Absolutely. And even if they don't want IDs, which you need an ID for everything else, you need a license for everything else, but for voting, they don't want that. But school elections, you have to have your ID. If you don't have your driver's license and you go into a school election, you ain't voting. So it's okay for those elections, but it's not okay for the general election. Why do you think that is? So everybody has their ID. They have to provide that. And if you don't have your ID, then you have one person that, per, line per vote. And that's it. Greg, what's up, brother? Hey, Greg, I can't wait to talk to you. I've heard great things, buddy. Thanks for commenting. Voter ID is a great solution, but what the left is going to say, it's too expensive, right? We can't implement that. Okay, too expensive. So you come up with a plan for the military and absentees, and it's one vote per person. That is it. And if each person has to have an identifiable number associated with them in order to send that vote in, then that's it. And then every vote gets visually observed by a Board of Elections official, a Democrat observer, a Republican observer, or a conservative observer. As long as they're on both sides and they can look at that stuff. Simple. Extremely simple. And those are the first things that have to happen before we are able to even think about taking John Flynn down, taking Mark Poloncarz down, and in any other elected office. Because they sit back. I looked at the voting totals for Orchard Park schools all the time. And I was like, how does this budget pass? Every single time. You would have like around 2,000 votes for their side, and you would have around 1,000 votes for the other side. The only time there was an exception was when the superintendent at the time, and I can't even remember his name, total dirtbag, kept lying about how, and Charlie Stoddard. He total dirtbag, total scumbag. He wanted this school built so he could have his name on it. And he lied and said it was going to be like $80 million or something like that. And he was trying to pass a bond in order to get that approved. Same guy that had bought different properties all over for hundreds of thousands of dollars and turned them into parking lots, a few spaces. This man was saying, our student population is going to rise. It was, I think at the time, like maybe 5,300 or 5,500. And he said, it is going to exponential growth, and these are the reasons, and this is why we need this brand new facility. Yeah, but Charlie, you've got these vacant buildings, but you need this new facility? Why do you need that? It was the only time, and then the numbers kept going up, right? He was being exposed. Then it was all of a sudden 120 million. And before you know it, it would have been 200 million easy to build a school. State-of-the-art school that he wanted his name on there. And that's what these people want. They're all about the recognition and the accolades. They love getting that pat on the back, right? They love getting that power and that control and that authority. They all forget that they are the people's employees. And that one was crushed. That was my first level of active. I was a committeeman briefly in Orchard Park, and then I put a sign out, and I said, it's ensure the future of your children, vote no on this, and people crushed that. They were like, absolutely not. Now, back then, Charlie's out there pushing, and also there was a gentleman who was on that school board, amazing man. He passed away. I can't remember his name, but he and I were in contact and communications all the time. And oh God, I can't remember his name. But he would say, Pete, what they're doing is illegal. What the school would do, Ian, what's up? What's up, Mike? Great to see you guys. What the school would do is they would send out their newsletters. And in their newsletter, it's illegal. They can't do it. They can't have propaganda, and they can't have anything that is skewed or biased. They can't have it. And what they were doing is they were utilizing the newsletter to push their agenda. They can't do that. It's informational only. That's all it can be. And, he showed me exactly what was happening within the schools, how they were abusing their authority, just on and on and on and on and on again. And he showed me exactly how much money that school was going to cost. And he showed me all the money and the waste that this school, that district, Orchard Park, gave every single year. I mean, Orchard Park is like $20,000 now per student to educate. $20,000 to educate per student. Well, that's state mandates. Let's take a look around the state and see how $20,000 per student compares to other districts. It's that simple. And how well are those schools doing? And I've talked about those things. But you had that school that overturned it. But it was corrupt. They wanted it so bad. And they were manipulating the numbers. There was the old machines that they would use, the county machines, that you had to flip the thing down. And it was described to me how it was utilized. It was described to me that the counting system inside of it, and I may be remembering incorrectly, but it was described to me that every time a lever was pulled down, that if it was pulled down, let's say if it was no, then every second or third no would actually register as a yes for whatever it is that they wanted, and that those machines could be manipulated that way extremely easily. That was why those machines went by the wayside. So Charlie Stoddard professed that there was going to be 6,500 students, and we needed to build this huge building and complex in Orchard Park for 6,500 students. Sound familiar? Sound like any other government officials that prophesize false information? Sound like anybody else? I could think of thousands and thousands that are out there that make these claims, and corporations as well. And now, Orchard Park, you try to get the information of how many students they have out there. It's very difficult to find that and obtain that. However, more schools, they're closing, different, and obviously now, with COVID, the schools are pretty much vacant. And, half capacity and everything else that they're doing. But prior to this, they had these schools shut down. They were selling off properties. And I don't know for sure, but the way that you see, was overcrowding, manipulating it, using that rag to show that the hallways were packed. Well, of course they're packed. It's the end of the day. It's the end of the day, or it's in between periods, and the halls are going to look packed. So it's just propaganda. And now, where he said we were going to have 6,500 students, less than 5,000. Each year, incrementally, fewer and fewer and fewer students. And we see that trend. We see that trend. Monica, what's up, hon? Good morning. We see that trend in every school system across the county. They manipulated the elections in Orchard Park. They manipulate them in every town. They absolutely do. The school elections, make no mistake about it, there's outright fraud in every single school election. And what they'll do and they'll sit there, you're a conspiracy theorist, that doesn't happen. They're told to say that. Deny, 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 deny. And then when you go, well, can we take a look? Can we just, do you mind if we, well, no, you can't take a look. This is private. This is secure information. You can't look. Why is it private? Why is it secure? Well, you wouldn't understand. But if you don't go away right now, I'm going to have to call authorities. I'm going to have to call the police on you. Sound familiar? Why do you think they operate in that capacity? It's the first way to get you to turn away, and then they resort to the second tactic and the third tactic and the fourth tactic. And it always involves police, right? Well, I was just asking you. You said that there's no improprieties or fraud. So all I wanted to do was just take a look. And then you said, you accused me of being a conspiracy theorist, and now you're calling the police on me. So with John Flynn will never work in this town again. I mean, he'll work for some shady, law attorney's firm here. Certainly he will. But that man is a terrorist. Make no doubt about it. The decisions he's made and gone against law enforcement, he is a communist. Out and out. Full on Hitler. Same thing with pulling cars. Look at his actions. Look at what he does. Now, do you know that pulling cars sits on a seat? A lot of you guys do know this. Pulling cars sits on a seat that owns it all, as an LLC that owns all the parking lots for the stadium. Did you know that? What do you think? Do you think that money is all being tabulated and calculated and accounted for? Nope. So, how many other things are happening in our county, in our towns? And we all know the abuse. All the way down to highway departments sitting inside their offices telling people, get lost. Go get lost for 6 hours and 8 hours. Don't look behind the curtain. It's not right. And we need to get, where we start with is we get pulling cars out of office. We don't need to completely, just like the left, we employ the same tactics that the left use. Get the governors in, get the attorney generals and the DAs in. We do the same thing. And we have way bigger numbers than they do. We get pulling cars out. We get John Flynn out. And then maybe Tim Howard, see how I brought that all around? Then maybe Tim Howard can start to do his job. Maybe our sheriffs, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, our family members, our friends who work for the sheriff's office that go, same thing with local law enforcement. Town of Tonawanda supervisor, all the laws that he broke. 20. What have you heard about that after that? One report on it. Was he arrested? What do you want to bet John Flynn said, you know what, buddy? You got close on this one. Don't worry about it. Because the left employs this tactics. Attorneys, major attorneys firms, legal firms, this is their tactic every single time. And this is why they win. Don't respond to it. Don't answer it. Don't validate it. Don't justify it. Don't do a press conference on it. Just sit here, and be quiet and wait for it to pass. Because guess what? It always passes. And they know that. And that's on us. And that's a part of what we're doing and building, is that we will. That case in Tonawanda, with our local online digital media that we will build and local media that's out there, all the news outlets, we will constantly, through social media, be reminding them every single day. And then those attorneys firms, those law firms that are going to represent criminals like that, we expose them every single day, factually, with real information, so that they can't say that they come after us and they sue us for libel or slander or all the other tactics that these attorneys firms use to try to shut everybody down. And that's what they're going to do, right? They're going to try to consume us with lawsuits. That's their other tactic. Just bury them in lawsuits. Just file this lawsuit against them, file this lawsuit against them, file this lawsuit against them. And what we're going to do is we're going to have people on our side that they're going to say, is there any merit to this? Is it meritorious or not? No? What kind of proof do you have? Because what attorneys firms do is without, and I don't know if you guys know this, but in a civil case, you can be accused, I mean, even a criminal case, let's be real. If somebody falsely accuses you of a crime, even a law enforcement officer, they're supposed to be held accountable for lying and falsely accusing you, but they never are. Rarely are they ever held accountable. In a civil case, lawyers and big corporations can come after you and attack you over and over and over and over and over and over again and bury you. And because the court systems are so co-opted and corrupted, you're going to have to sit there and try to defend yourself against something you never did. So it gets to the point where we put people in these offices that will look at the merit of each and every case, and that they will review and evaluate it. And then if they have to have oversight as well, then they will have oversight. Because right now it's the good old boys club. All of these attorneys, not all attorneys, but a lot of these attorneys firms and these attorneys, they're together. They're all working together. And is it, with any specific direction? Yes, in some cases it is. And in a number of cases, it's not. It's just organic, that they're like, okay, I got this case, but I don't want to piss this judge off, I don't want to piss this DA off, so even though I know I'm right, I'm going to tell my client to take a plea, just so I'm working within the confines of the system, and I'm not ostracized, and I'm not going to be an outcast. And that's just how naturally it works. And how do I know that? Because I know a lot of attorneys. Why do you know a lot of attorneys' fees? It's not important. Not important. So, but that's where we need to be. Poland Cars has paid Burstein now $200,000. How much money has Poland Cars cronies gotten, throughout this whole time? John Flynn is selectively enforcing the law. He is turning case that officers have built up, that agents have built up, that detectives have built up. John Flynn is going, yeah, you know what? Nah, not worried about that. Well, but they did this, and this is the crime, and this, hey, don't worry about that. Here. And that law enforcement agent, you go, why would a law enforcement agent do that? Because they need their job. They have to keep their job. They got to feed their families. And they know what's going on is wrong, and they know if they even utter a word about it, they're going to lose their jobs. It can be fixed, guys. What they want you to think is that it's so big it can't be. That it's so complex and complicated that it can't be. And what we're doing is we're trying to dispel. Ooh, dispel. You guys know I always like coming up with a new word. We're going to try to dispel that by showing everybody which employees are in which town, how many employees are there in each town. And we have a team of people working on that right now. And we're building that and we're compiling it. Government agencies, county government agencies, DA's offices, highway departments. How many people are employed? A lot of this stuff is public information, but it's not compiled in one place. So we will get all that information. Now the thing I wanted to wrap up on with all this stuff is that $20 million grant that Poland Cars gave out, 19.2, but kept 800K. I don't know, maybe that 800K paid for his party at Remington. I talked about it last night. And you guys know that Poland Cars went to Remington on Thanksgiving Eve in his bar up in Tonawanda. And people will go, well, Pete, why, there's just, a bar is being supported. Yeah, I agree. A bar is being supported, and that's great. But that bar that has seen all of their bars shut down and all their friends' bars shut down is getting preferential treatment from Poland Cars, and who is violating all of the rules. 10 people, distance, right? Remington, Poland cars, Thanksgiving Eve. I talked about it in my video last night in detail. You guys can look at that. Burstein's mother is out there boasting about how they had a huge Thanksgiving family celebration. Cuomo now has so Cuomo came into town, Laura Zeffel's house, came and picked her up in the neighborhood we were in on Greenbrier, and then took her over to her mother's house. That's what we think happened, because troopers descended. They were there for about a half hour. Seems about right. You go pick somebody up. You go over to their house. People were there. They were there all afternoon. At least one person, and maybe multiple. They were there all afternoon. And then at 5 o'clock, the troopers come in about, let's say, sometime between 5:25 and 5:55. Between 5 and 5:25, we were escorted out by troopers in vehicles that were not deployed from Clarence Barracks. They were not deployed from Clarence Barracks. So out-of-town troopers came into town. And then so between 5:25, which was the last confirmed sighting of troopers barricading the streets, at 5:55, that was the next time we got back, those troopers were gone. So a perfect amount of time to come on in. Hey, Maria, what's up, hon? To come on in and then leave. It'd take Laura and Cuomo over to Laura's mother's. And, talking about in those circles then, boasting about how many people they had at that party. And we heard it was 31. And now Cuomo comes out and says he's got a big flyer. I just sent it. Eric shared it with me, and I shared it with you guys today. Put out a big thing about this fundraiser that they're going to have for him. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. Make sure you put that everywhere. These people know this is a fraud. They know it is a farce. You do this, but I'm going to do this over here. And they have to be held accountable. And, when people talk to me and they ask me, well, Pete, how do you hold them accountable? Well, you hold them accountable by getting John Flynn out of that office, then charging him with all the crimes that should be charged on him, because you get a DA with a sack. I know one that I'm thinking of right now that's incredible. I'm not going to mention his name because I don't want to compromise him. I know a couple women in the DA's office as well. Great people. They would be brilliant DAs. You know why? Because they're just and moral and virtuous, and they apply the law equally the way it was intended. And they are ashamed to work under somebody like Flynn. Absolutely and utterly ashamed to work under somebody like Hitler. Himmler, because Poland cars is Hitler, right? We've got to get him out of office, and we've got to give Tim Howard the support that he needs to be able to enforce the laws that are on the books. That is the only way we're going to be able to execute this stuff. If we don't, we're going to be looking at the same things week after week after week, month after month after month. And we just need those offices to have good leadership, because once that good leadership is there, guess what? All DAs are enforcing the law the way that they should be. Town attorneys then see that. Town judges, the judges start to see it. And the judges, make no mistake, every electable judge's office, we are going to rank and rate them, and then we will get those people out. All those judges that are corrupted. Tricia, what's up, hon? All those judges that are corrupted, we will get them out. And we will put new people in. And that is the only way we start to take this back and make those changes. It seems like a lot of work, guys, but it's not. Do you see this beautiful, brilliant family that we have? We have thousands and thousands of us, and it is growing and growing and growing. And when we make these changes, people are going to start to see, oh man, damn. And we've got a lot of other things to work on too, but it's not complicated. It really isn't. Linda, you too, you have a wonderful day, hon. It's not that complicated. So Poland cars with that $20 million, we want a FOIA request who he gave that money to. Because, there's a lot of people who are Republicans and conservatives and moderates and libertarians that didn't get that money. In fact, I don't know any that own businesses that got a dime, a cent. So I'm wondering which businesses got that. 19.2 million. Sorry, not 20. It's 19.2 million. Who got that money? Which businesses got it? Do you think we're going to get that FOIL request? Nope. There should be no denial of that FOIL request at all. But guess what? There will be. We got a plan, guys, but we need all you guys doing everything that you are. You're all doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I see the efforts that you're putting in. I hear and I read the efforts that you guys are putting in. The only thing I can tell you is this, guys. Make sure you stay structured, disciplined, organized, and focused. All right? Maintain that always. Recognize opportunity wherever it lies. Write it down, put it in your phone, wherever your best source is. Get that there and then build your teams. Build your teams of, like I always tell you, 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever they are. Don't get much bigger than 20. Build your teams so that you guys can set out on doing what it is that you want to do, or partner with something that is there already and contribute there, moving it forward. So I see it and I love it, and I applaud everybody that's doing a great job. And every day I hear from somebody new and they're going, Pete, I'm doing this. It all is valuable. All of it is valuable. You know, people looked at the Marching Patriots and they laughed. They laughed at the Marching Patriots. What value does that have? And now, months and months and months later, all the people's lives that has touched. You know, what rallies are, for those that don't know. Rallies are a way to get people to come together. It is a critical, fundamental element of the movement because you become a part of a team. If you don't have that team feel, you are not going to be a part of something. If you don't feel like somebody else has your back, you are not going to feel like you're a part of something. And you're just going to say, and once you don't feel valued, and once you don't feel like you have a place or your voice is being heard, you are going to step away. It's just as simple as that. And then what Marching Patriots did and accomplished is just that. It brought so many people into the fray that would have never, ever, ever got into politics at all. They wouldn't have become a committeeman. They would not have been. It involves people in a way that would never have thought about being involved in a million years. It's the same reason why we do Breathe Free. Breathe Free, and why that organization was started with Nick Nazinski and we brought Charlie in and we brought Heather in, and Heather has been doing a great job spearheading that organization. But there are a lot of elements of Breathe Free other than camaraderie, right? We want legislative changes. We want to start, making sure we're exposing some of these businesses. We want to make sure we're suing some of these businesses. Civil disobedience is part of it. Supporting local businesses was a huge part of Breathe Free, but another huge part of Breathe Free was to bring people together, to give people an opportunity to come together in a way that they weren't able to, sitting at home, days and days and weeks, sitting at home, not doing anything, not going out. It was a vehicle in which to give that and provide that. And I encourage there to be a dozen different Breathe Free groups. Why? Because you can only have so many people come out and have it be a close-knit feel. And we're at that limit. We're at that limit of about 60. So having Breathe Free Clarence and Breathe Free Amherst, that's what the vision is, to build. Because you can't just have 60 people that feel good. You have to have 60 people times 20 feeling good. And Breathe Free was created to be civil disobedience, but also to support businesses, but to also give people a sense of community and a sense of belonging. That is why it is critical. Rolling Patriots the parades that they have are invaluable. And the fact that John and Scott started that is invaluable, and that they have built it to where they are. But they would love it. Scott and John would absolutely love it if there was a rolling if there was a rolling Patriots North Towns and a rolling Patriots South Towns and a rolling Patriots City and a rolling Patriots Country. They would love it, because you only get so big where it can still be meaningful and identifiable and relatable. And I know that people say that the rallies aren't important, but they are critical. They are an absolutely imperative component of it. Because if you don't have those vehicles and those mechanisms to get people a part of it, thank you, Maria, have a great day, I'll talk to you later. If you don't have those vehicles and mechanisms to get people involved and to feel a part of something, they're not going to be a part of something. The Republican Party, they can't get people to do elections and politics to run. There's nobody on the bench in our county for the Republicans. There's nobody on the bench for Conservative Party, Libertarian Party. We don't have the candidates there. We just don't. Tom, what's up, brother? Good morning. We don't have them. Nobody is just going to get involved in politics for the sake of getting involved in politics. How do I know that? Because our elderly care systems have been an abomination for years. Our schools have been an abomination for years. Businesses paying 60, 70, 80% in taxes. Tax rates going up every single year. Nobody's stopping, putting their hands up and saying, what's happening is people are, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. There's no vehicle and mechanism by which to get people involved. That is why Rally Together USA, that is why every single one of the rallies that take place, any one of the protests that take place, any one of the fundraisers, that's why Friendsgiving takes place, that's why New Year's Eve takes place. You have to have a vehicle in which people come together on a consistent basis. That's what rallies accomplish. Otherwise, you're going to have the same numbers of people that you have always. And you're going to end up having the same Republican chairs and the same conservative chairs that are there and being in control and wielding power. Because we then become again fractured. The only reason this movement is growing are because of things like Breathe Free New York, because of things like Marching Patriots, because of things like Rolling Patriots. Now the group that we created, Michael Bray and I created that group together. Mike came up to me, and you guys have heard me talking about getting a seniors group together for a long time. Mike Bray said, hey, let's start this group. And I go, absolutely. And how are we going to do it? Are we going to do it where you're controlling it and I'm controlling it, the whole thing? Or do you want to sit in the background and I'm controlling it? Or do you want a group of people to do it? He said, I think we should do a group of people. I go, I agree. Let's do that. So I invited every single person that was there. And that initial group invited 12 people. Everybody saw the invite and we started that group text. And that's how it was built. Same thing with Breathe Free New York. Nick Nizinski and I working on that day in and day out, and then bringing Heather Lorenzo in. She had organizational abilities, and she has done a great job. She's done a magnificent job. But those vehicles and those mechanisms are there in place to give people support, to make them feel a part of something, and they are critical. Now, Save Our Seniors is the same thing. Serenading our seniors, and I know people want to blow up the system, but that's not the way it's got to be accomplished. It's going to be extremely difficult to blow up the system. Is that effective? Yes, but then what's the answer? So we're going to try to work with each one of these elderly care facilities that we are working with right now. We're going to try to partner with and create relationships that are meaningful and bonds that are meaningful. Why do you do that, Pete? Why wouldn't you just blow it up? Because these people are in charge of our loved ones. Somebody's mother is there. If you go in and you try to blow things up, what's going to happen? Resistance. Walls are going up. And every other elderly care facility in our county is going to see that. Every other elderly care facility is going to see that, and they're going to be like, I'm not working with them, I'm not working with them, I'm not working with them, I'm not working with them. You get way more flies with you know what than you know what. So what we're doing is we're trying to show these elderly care facilities and establish Save Our Seniors as something that is trustworthy and there to support the residents, the families of the residents, and the staff. That is truly what we think. That is the only way we operate. And Jessica is seeing it work. Frank would storm the gates, and Frank is like, we got to take it apart, we got to take it down. You and Mike, you know what, I got to rein them in. And I got to be like, guys, I get it. But look at how effective Frank is right now. Look how effective Jessica is. Her whole mindset has shifted and she's getting results. Frank is the same way. Frank has changed the way that he is approaching it. And Dorothy and other people in the group that are a part of it that, we're like, let's storm it because of their personal experiences that they're upset and they're justifiably upset. But they trust the approach. They trust the vision. They see how that is going to achieve and garner greater results by working with the people that are there as opposed to not. It's like I said, you don't throw the whole car out. You just start to say, hey, we need to clean it up, we need to vacuum it out, we need to wash it down, we need to wax it, and we need new leaders, new managers in there who are trained the right way. And once you do that, you're going to have something brilliant. You have that transition. And then you have a model created within the elderly care movement or within the elderly care arena that people can look at and go, man, they're doing a great job over there. They're doing a great job over there. And then people start to hear it. And when they start to talk to their doctors, when they're making their recommendations of saying, hey, I want to go here or I want to go here, which place do you want to go to? And you go, well, I heard this place is great, I want to go here. And more people want to go there. And then all of a sudden the other elderly care facility goes, man, why aren't we getting any people coming in here? And then the people who have been at the other facilities, they go, man, you're doing it all wrong. That is what we're trying to achieve. And people say, well, that's going to take too long. It's not. In a matter of a day, ECMC was like, no. Let's approach it this way. Let's do it this way. Let's handle it this way. And then all of a sudden, tears and smiles, police officers, heads, hey, go over here and go over here and go over here and have your vehicle. We have got to work with these agencies. People are like, East Aurora, we need to storm it and we need to do this, we need to do this. No. We have got to have the trust of these agencies and entities. We have to. And then what's going to happen is, well, Pete, they're going to have bad people in their offices and in their positions. Yes, they are. But guess what? Most people within these agencies already know the bad people. But they don't feel like they can do anything because they don't have support. There's no support. Now they see us and our movement and they say, oh, shit. Well, we've got support. Did you know that this person is doing this and this person is doing this and this person? Oh, really? Great. They trust us. That's what it's all about. And it's not built on false pretenses. It's not, trying to, say, oh, hey, we got you, that this is, the Trojan horse. That's not it at all. It's to really, really build a team effort, a coordinated and collaborated effort with our elderly care facilities. And that is what we're trying to do across the board. You know, why do you put new coaches on teams? You know, the same reason, if it's the same players on a team, right? We'll use this analogy. If you have an NFL team, the Buffalo Bills, and it's got the one coach, and it's the same team, and the next coach comes in the next year, and that same team that performed abysmally, but the next year they start to perform a little bit better, but it's all the same players. You a little one here, one here, one here, one here. You're not throwing everything out. That's not what you do. That's not how you approach it. And there will be a rally group that we are going to create and form. And it is probably going to be this Open Buffalo group because they're brilliant minds. And then I get to kind of step back from doing all the rallies. I'll still be involved in every capacity and going there and doing everything that I do with that. But I get to step back from having the responsibility and onus on me. And I get to have this wonderful and incredible group of people that's assembled to take that on. And then we'll have our rally groups. We'll have our protest groups. And that gets to my last point. Protests. Why are protests important? Protests are important because you have to make people start to fear. You have got to do it in a strategic and tactical way. And that's the way, if you guys notice, with the protests that are happening now, they're strategic and tactical, with meaning, identifiable meaning behind them. You know, in the protest, you have to take it to the individuals that are committing whatever it is that you want to stand up against. And why do you have to do that? Because they have to know. Otherwise, they're in their ivory tower in the Rath Building, in City Hall. Do you think they care there? They don't care. They're not listening to us. That's obvious. And we would have to get tens and tens and tens of thousands of people to come out for our voices to even be heard. And we all know that's not going to happen. So when we take it to the individual, there's meaning in that. And then the protests, one of the things that we do with all rallies, one of the things that we're really, really deficient in, you guys have heard me talk about this time and time and time again, very, very deficient in getting all the names of all the people. Why are rallies and protests important? They're important for morale. They're important for camaraderie. We've talked about that. But one of the other key components that wasn't ever being executed was getting people from those rallies and protests to start giving their names, start reaching out, start networking. Do you think it's an accident at this point that we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people? Why do you think we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people? It's not because people wanted to be politically active. It's because they came to Marching Patriots. And had we been collecting names from the very beginning and Facebook not shut us down, we would have thousands and thousands of names. And we're building that back up. Rolling Patriots, same thing. Started with a couple of people. Now it's hundreds. Hundreds of people that feel like they belong, and you're building that family and those bonds. Breathe Free, same thing. We started with a couple of dozen. I got the first sheet. And we're up to hundreds. We're over 150, almost 200. People that get together every week. That's what that is for. Save Our Seniors. Same thing, same premise. Serenade. Have a movement, have a rally that you're a part of, that you can feel a part of. And then, and sure, the other groups are involved too. There's redundancy. There's no problem with redundancy. But where Rolling Patriots or Marching Patriots or Breathe Free isn't going to connect, then you have Save Our Seniors that's going to connect. And you get those names. And you start with the one or two names or those three names or those four names. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you have hundreds of names. Same thing with Small Business Coalition with Marie, Eric, and I. In building that team, you know, with Michelle and Mike and Jeremy and so many other people that have messaged me and said that they want to be a part of that and help and contribute in every way. You know, same thing with Open Buffalo. You guys hear me profess this all the time. Get the names. Talk to people every day. Build the teams. Make them feel valued and appreciated. Keep it small and keep it tight. We have bigger groups. We have a bigger group all together where we come together united and unified. But you're never going to have a bigger group. The bigger group will always be what it's going to be. And those small numbers of individuals that were involved, those handful of individuals that were doing everything and felt like they had to do everything obsessively. They were going out and doing the elections and doing politics and doing rallies and doing protests and doing traveling and writing letters and emails. That's exhaustive. The reason why we have so many different layers and so many different groups is that everybody doesn't have to do that. You can if you want to. You can go to this, you can go to that, but you don't have to feel compelled to do any of it. And then you can breathe. And you go, man, you know what? They got this. They got this over here. I trust them. I trust that they've got this. I trust that they've got this. I can't do it all. That's why all these different groups, when you guys see that they're created, and I partner with somebody, I say, here, I recognize somebody who's going to be a leader. I recognize somebody who's going to be a leader who has that capacity or that potential. I work with them, I work with them, I work with them, I work with them. I'm seeing, identifying, I'm listening. People are calling in, talking, messaging, You're managing it. And then I'm observing how they are managing and handling it. And once I feel like they can do it on their own and they've got a support staff with them, within the group that's not at each other's throats and not at odds, then I can step back and then I can move on to the next thing. Pete, why do you do so many things? Why are you involved in so many things? Because it's critical and it's important, and nobody else is seeing what needs to be done and how it needs to be handled and addressed. And I am approaching it in a way that I am absolutely convinced it is the right way. And if it wasn't the right way, every single one of you know how amenable I am to suggestions. I will be like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. But when I know the way things have to work and operate in order to achieve what's happening, I got to approach it that way. And, people will go, hey, well, Pete, how do you know? How are you so certain that it's going to work? March. We have, remnants of 1791 society and constitutional coalition, and the Tea Party, remnants of the Tea Party, and that's it. Conservative movement dead in Erie County. Republican Party, for all intents and purposes, dead in Erie County. Rallies, Erica was doing it, Taylor was doing it, Gina was doing it, but there really wasn't any structure or organization. Russ was doing it, Carl was involved as well, the Orchellis were involved as well, but there was never any real clear defined focus, because it's just too much to handle with the handful of groups that were there, especially when some of those groups are at odds. So I came in and I said, the very first thing that I said was, we have to come together. We have to unite. We have to join the resources and the forces that we have. And I realized that wasn't going to happen. I realized that was not going to be the case, because there were too many personalities and deep-rooted issues that wasn't going to happen. So then organically, all the different things that I had written out and applied down in my phone, all the different layers that needed, all the conversations that I've had for years and years and years and years, all of a sudden they start coming into play. Mike Segula's there. Awesome. I'm going to support them completely. We then the Rolling Patriots come on board, and then we create Breathe Free. And then, we have the Western New York, there's the Freedom Fighters, and then there's Western New York, Rally WNY, be organized over there. And then FreeNewYorkState.com, that comes into play, and the different layers and mechanisms that are there. And then we have Save Our Seniors, and we have all of these people. Now, where before at the very beginning, we just had like so few people involved. And now we have 20 times the amount of people involved. at least 20 times. At least, it's probably more like 50 times as many people that are involved. When you take a look at March as compared to December right now, the people that have come in and are a part of this, it's probably 50 times. And it could have been even more had we all worked harder, better, smarter, myself included. Had we all got the cards set up, had we gotten the Facebook pages set up, had we had points of contact, had we had emails, had we had banners, had we been giving the stuff out to every passerby, there's probably 1,000 people that have gone by and asked me, what group are you with? And I didn't have a card to hand them. And I should have. And another 1,000 people that have talked to me and said, I want to be a part of this, that I never got back to. And that's all of us. So imagine how many people we would have had involved had we started that from the very beginning. And that's okay that we didn't. Because even though we are at the numbers that we are at a fraction of where we need to be. We are at a fraction of a percent of where we need to be and where we need to get to in order to make the types of changes that we need to. And I've gone long here, and I apologize, guys. Thank you for the handful of you guys that have hung on to this point. But I've expressed this in other videos as well, so I know you guys have heard this before. It's nothing new. But trust the process. Trust the process. The process is designed for a reason, to get to where it is that we need to be. And how do I know it works? I look at March and where we were, and I look at now in December and where we are now. And we will work collectively, like we will. We are going to work collectively, like we do, like we come together, watchmen coming out to events. These events that we have, we are working together and coming together. Why do you not want one leader, Pete? You don't want one leader because it's too easy to be attacked, right? It's too easy to be in control. So what happens within, let's say, the Republican Party? So the Republican Party has one head, right? And it's all political. And what it is here in Erie County, everybody has to ask that individual for, absolutely long-winded today, for sure, Dale. Sorry, there's a lot to get through. You have the Republican Party that everybody is asking for approval. They need approval to do anything. And if they don't get that approval, then, they're not going to do it. But these other individuals have great ideas, wonderful ideas, and how to contribute. But it all gets stifled and shut down. You cannot have one person in command of this movement. You cannot. And the reason why you can't is then that gets to be too bureaucratic. There's too many layers. It's not nimble enough. It's not fluid enough. Because then what happens is you'll have individuals that will say, so you have your group, you have your small group, you have your vision, you have your objective, you have your compass of where you're setting about on, and you know what to do. But guess what? Not everybody is going to agree with what you got going on and what you're doing and how you're approaching it. Everyone's not. And that's okay. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that for whatever reason, other people disagree with it. And if that group was a part of a larger collective that was dictating and guiding it, and there was an organizational structure like a president, vice president, secretary, all that other stuff, you got to go through all of those layers in order to accomplish something. We cannot operate that way. That is completely defeatist, and it's the reason why we have been the way that we have been for so long. It's the reason the Republican Party is the way it is in this town. It's the reason why the Conservative Party is the way it is in town. And Dwayne Whitmer, I love Dwayne Whitmer, and and I don't know if Steve Filano is a part of Libertarian Party, and I don't know if Jim Ostrowski is either. But it's the reason why even the Libertarian Party is the way that it is, because it's everything has to get approval by one central command. You can't have that. You can't have the big, the military. You can't. That's why you have, in whatever arena and theater the combat is, That's why you don't have somebody in Washington, D.C. making the decisions. They tried to do that for a long time, and they don't do that anymore. They have people closest to the action reporting and making those decisions, because only those people in that arena and that theater know all the nuances and intricacies of what's going on. So only Rolling Patriots know what Rolling Patriots do very, very, very well. You know, only Breathe Free New York and Small Business Coalition, because the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours have been put into it and applied to growing that. And if that becomes a part, it can be a part of the larger collective, but in that it contributes with the larger events that are there. You know, the elections that are there. You distribute and disseminate the information to them. But those entities have to be an island unto themselves so that they can exist autonomously and operate independently. Otherwise, it stifles them and it shuts them down. And you see it happen over and over and over again, where when things start to get too big, you have too many members, all of a sudden productivity comes down. Why does productivity come down? It's counterproductive to have that many members that are in charge, because then everybody wants to have their voice heard. Everybody thinks that their opinion is that matters and that is the most important. You know, when I was a union steward, the same thing. You know, when you're involved in a football team, when you have too many chiefs, you're never going to get anything done. That is why you have the independent organizations. I don't want to say smaller organizations, but, you know, in a way they are, you know, in their focus and scope, they're focused in on what they've got to do, but those have to operate autonomously and independently. Because if they don't, they will become too big, and then you have all these layers of approval you have to have, and we don't need those. Yet people can do and conduct themselves in a way, and people will say, well, hey, why, you know, we want to be moved in the same direction. There is a direction, there is a focus. And how do I know that? Because we are putting that together. The leaders of the groups that we work with, we all work together. We trust one another. We're family. You know, Mike, all the different groups that we work together, and that's why we support one another. And that's why at the end of the day we come together and support the larger collective. But if you had 100 people coming in to, let's say, any type of meeting, nothing is getting done. Not a thing is getting accomplished. So it's got to be very, very light. And, you know, those groups getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's everything that I've got today, guys. I'll come back on a little bit later. I do have some big announcements that I want to cover that I didn't cover. Probably going to come on around noon because it was long-winded, and I apologize, but there was a lot of information to cover. Love you guys very much. Got some calls to take here, and enjoy your morning. Bye, guys.